Just read the cards.
Just read the cards.
All right, welcome. Talk about Jerry Springer. Usually Dowdy is here hosting this, but he's on the road with Reps Imaginary Theater Company, so
And not in jail for stealing his own car.
I am not in jail for stealing his own car. And everyone will wonder what that means when they see the videotape. Here's Rob Lippert, lighting and scenic designer, and Sarah Porter, costume designer. And we'll each talk a little bit about what we did, and if you want to ask stuff, you can. About a year ago this time, we were talking about this season, and Dowdy suggested Jerry Springer the Opera, which I was in love with, but I said, we can't possibly do that as a real opera. So, and then we went back and forth for a while, and I don't know when I decided that I guess we could do this. Oh, I know, I emailed several local opera singers that I knew and said, if we do this, will opera singers come audition for us? Because at least some of the roles have to be opera singers. And everybody I talked to said, oh my God, yes, local opera singers would be thrilled to do this. So I guess that was the determining factor for me, and we announced it. And we had, we also decided that we would audition at the same time as Bonnie and Clyde to kind of up the attendance quotient. So we got a really terrific tryout and a lot of classically trained singers, thank God. And you know, normally our casts are only 16. This time we needed 19. The original was even larger than that, but that's the least we could pull it off with. So we were extremely lucky that we got the people we got in the cast. And I guess I should say extremely lucky that we have our new music director, Jeffrey Carter, who handled all the music, thank God. I used to be our music director all the time, and this would have killed me. I would have had a breakdown. So thank God for Jeffrey. What?
You just saved the breakdowns for everybody else.
Yes, as I said to the cast many times during this process, I'm the one who picked the show, and you all will suffer for it. Because this wasn't hard for me to stage this. This was relatively easy for me. Yeah, so, and I think what's been remarkable about it is that we've only had a couple of walkouts, and everybody says it's almost exactly as offensive as they thought it would be. So that's pretty good. That means we sold it well, and we only got 5 protest emails, which I was very upset about. I thought we'd get more, but. It is.
That's why
It is what it is. And I did 2 of the 5 I did right back to and said, and I shouldn't have done this, but I just couldn't help myself. I wrote back and said, actually, God has spoken to me about the show, and she thinks it's very funny. So, and then I blocked her emails, so I don't know if they wrote back to me or not. But I will say, to end my little section here, it was in a lot of ways incredibly hard to do this show, as some of you here know that. And I'm really, really proud of how hard everybody worked and that we pulled this damn thing off, because it really is difficult, and I feel really terrific about it. Everybody really seems to love it and get it and embrace it to one degree or another. And I think that's really cool. I think that says something cool about the people who work with us and about the St. Louis audiences. We get really great crowds and they're having a blast. So, bravo St. Louis. All right, your turn.
My turn. Well, when Scott and I first talked about this show, actually this was the one of the season that I was the most excited about. And some of it is because it is sort of a cultural icon in America in a sickening sort of way. But I think one of the things that Scott and I settled on pretty quickly is that we were going to do it honest. Do it honest, well, from the character standpoint, but then also honest visually. So,
which can I say is not what the original did.
Absolutely.
The original really went a different direction.
And so when I did the set for this, and this was by far not my most difficult set. This was actually pretty easy to put together scenic-wise. And I got 2 of my scenic artists up there, and I think they will agree that this was not a terrible build. But it's got most of the archetypes of the Springer set, but everything is scaled down because instead of having the whole soundstage to set it up on, I've got 42 feet. width and no depth. So everything is smaller. You know, the little bases at the bottom of the columns, instead of being 3 feet by 2 feet wide, they're 16 inches by 2 feet deep. So everything's just a little bit smaller. It's not a real full 2 stories like the Springer set is. It's, I imply the balcony up there, but we of course don't use it, the runway for the strippers. So in some respects, it made designing it fairly easy, because I just had to pick the pieces that people would recognize, scale them down, all down to fit on our stage, and then execute. And it's all, that part was real simple. What I felt that I needed to do was I needed to really light it right. And then to the second half of the show a lot more impactful. So then Scott said, so how are we going to deal with hell? Are we going to burn the set down at intermission or whatever? I said, we'll do it all with lights. I said, but we need to make a transition. The purgatory sequence has to break you away from the show completely. I said, let's put black fabric over the set and light it very tightly. Instead of lighting like the whole show, bring it way in so it's kind of dreamy, almost like walking on a cloud type of an environment. And then when we transition to hell, we rip the black fabric down and everything comes to fire. And so that's what we did. And then for Act 3, the portion in hell, I've got gobo rotators with flames moving on the stage. We have 7 LED lights up in the ceiling, and it's a very subtle effect. Most people probably don't consciously perceive it, but there's a script that's running all through Act 3 where those lights sit there and pulsate everywhere from yellow to deep red to slightly purple. And it's not that the whole stage changes. It's like this one will be red, that one will be yellow, and this one will be orange, and then they'll shift. And so the whole set is like breathing with these orange-red lights while the flames are dancing, and then we added a silk flame behind the fan so that you sort of got that tangible fire element. And then the last thing we did was we added fog and haze. There are 2 geyser fog machines on stage, one behind the stripper pole and the other one behind the studio audience, that just send a plume of fog straight up in the air, almost like hell having gas. And it just happens periodically. You just get this at key times.
And you said that, so Gabe does that manually, right? When
Gabe fires those things manually per show based upon a couple of things. I told Gabe I want to keep a haze in the room, but I don't want to gag the whole audience out. So there will be some nights when the ventilation pulls things out of here real well, and there'll be other nights when it just hangs in the room, and you're just going to have to back off. So I set it to just a bump button up there. Each one of those fog elements has a bump button that he can manually trigger.
Is that the thing that I hear? I keep hearing this.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's right
directly
behind you.
behind you.
Behind you.
It's right behind
It
the
sounds
stripper
to me
pole.
like somebody has a kabasa.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and it's firing a plume of smoke basically right behind the stripper pole.
Fired a perfect smoke ring the other night. It was very
Did
cool.
it? That's
Oh,
It
awesome.
smacked
perfect,
the
just
ceiling.
Straight up.
Wow.
Well, I have to say that Gabe often gets a laugh from when he hits the guy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Because something funny will happen and then right behind it, and then we get a laugh from it.
So that was the concept for the lighting, because the lighting to me was important in this show, more important than even the set. And so then the last piece of the lighting that was important to me was transitioning them out of hell, as Jerry actually dies. And so then hell melts away, and Jerry's left laying in a pool of light in stars, as the cast is standing singing backlit. They're silhouetted around him, behind him, singing, and Jerry has those final very insightful moments laying on the floor in the stars, and then walks up into the audience and up into heaven.
Godlight.
And then immediately the lighting changes to musical theater, which of course there isn't.
For our finale, the grand fromage.
Which is really sort of is funny, because it's to me it's sort of a poke at the opera. It's like, okay, we're not going to end as an opera, we're going to end as a musical theater, big production number. it's really fun.
Well, and speaking of that finale, when we had decided we were really definitely going to do this, and I sat down and I watched the whole video, they had broadcasted on BBC and I have a video. We got to the end and I thought, boy, I hate that finale. Like, I was like, maybe, I wonder if the writers would let me cut it, you know, and just end with the serious stuff. And I really thought about it and I thought, what are you doing? You're going to ask the writers to cut their last song. They're not going to say that's okay, you know. And I thought, what don't I understand about this? And I think it's exactly what you said. I think they get this kind of semi-seriousness at the end. You're like, wow, this is kind of heavy. And then they totally undercut it. They just tear it apart in front of you. And they do that through the whole show. And I think that was exactly their point at the end. They're like, oh, no, we're not going to let you end with something insightful. You know, this is crazy and outrageous. And so we have a little, you know, what the fuck tap break in the middle of our finale. And I realized, once I kind of figured out why they had done that, I was like, okay, that's awesome. I'm an idiot to want to get rid of that. That's perfect. One of the things we learned. Sarah, your turn.
This is the hardest thing I've ever worked on in my entire life.
While being in it.
While being in it, because that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. But I will never have to work on anything as difficult as this ever again, I really don't think.
I think that's true.
I honestly think that this is the pinnacle of difficult things to work on.
Well, and before you go on, we should say, first of all, Sarah's in our singing studio audience, which we discovered they're in 32 of the songs, I think.
There's what, 40 songs?
Yeah.
I think we're in 36.
That could be.
We're in something
So,
like that. Like,
there was an ocean of music for you to learn, all of which was difficult. And then on top of that, also, designing our costumes.
designing costumes. Which, the first half of the show, the costumes aren't challenging at all, really. The first half of the show, it has to look like Jerry Springer. It has to look like people in the Jerry Springer show. And the biggest, except for what?
The tearaway.
Oh, we'll get there, don't you
Yeah.
worry. It has to look like people modern day on television doing their thing. But the biggest problem is that we have actors and singers in this show, and actors and singers want to look pretty whenever they're on stage. And it's really hard to convey to everybody, you guys are all attractive. You're so attractive, I love you, you're talented, you're beautiful. You really need to stop worrying about how good you look on stage, because you're not gonna look good. Yes, your bra straps are hanging out, I know that, they're hanging out on purpose, stop trying to cover them up. Yes, that sweater is a weird color and makes you look funny, I'm so sorry, but please wear it. No, take off the undergarments underneath it, you cannot wear Spanx. The people on Jerry Springer do not wear Spanx. And so to get that realness to everybody, convey that to them was difficult. But once everybody kind of got a hold of that, it's fine, it's totally fine. The tearaway is the hardest thing it's not the hardest thing I've ever had to make. It isn't. There are a lot of websites that exist that burlesque dancers have put out that tell you how to make any kind of tearaway clothes you could ever imagine. So, I could actually run back and grab it because it's back there real quick if anybody wants to see it, but Keith's like, I've seen it, I help Marshall put it,
I was gonna say, I
I help him put it on every day.
Oh, really?
We don't really get to watch it. Busy? So what costumes actually tour away besides Marshall?
That's the only one.
It's Marshall.
Yeah. But it's while he's back there, he has to look normal walking out.
Right.
People tear the whole thing away.
And he comes out at the beginning. Where does he come in from? When
Oh,
the
is it
entire
a
cast
prologue?
comes in, because
Yes.
I mean they're in regular
Yes.
lighting, and I mean they're kind of close to the audience, and so the audience.
We have the prologue's
hasn't
really
been
dark,
able to see
so
those.
we
Right.
can't really see anybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then when he comes out as an audience
I
member,
know.
he just comes out and sits. So you basically take all of the clothes that you're gonna need, cut them in half. So we have a front of a shirt and a back of a shirt. I attached it to the pants to make it easier.
Yeah, one move, too.
Oh yeah, because if it's not attached to the pants, then it was gonna have to be like a separate shirt and then pants situation.
Front of the shirt had to be double.
Yes, yeah. The front of the shirt, it has a dickie in the front of it. It has a dickie in the front of it because it's kind of see-through. It's a really, really light polo. And when it was first discussed that Marshall was gonna be the baby on stage, we were kinda like, okay, how are we gonna do this and make you comfortable? What if I give you like a tiny baby kid's t-shirt? He loved it, loved the baby kid's t-shirt. Put the t-shirt on and put the duck on and you could see it straight through the costume. It's like, all right. The more comfortable he has gotten now walking around in a diaper, I will say, he did ask me the second week if he had to wear the duck t-shirt. It was like, you don't have to, but it's really cute.
Where are you gonna clip
Where are you gonna clip your pacifier? Yeah.
Exactly.
So everything goes on in one piece and you just kind of Velcro it up the sides. If you get up close to it, my sewing machine was breaking when I was making it, because that happens when you're working on the hardest show you've ever worked on, your sewing machine stops working. It doesn't look as beautiful up close, but on stage,
Well, but like we
it
said,
looks great,
when
because
he
you're not
first-
expecting
he
it.
first walks in from the upper entrance, he walks a few feet on stage and sits down, so we never really get a good look at it before the tearaway. The funniest thing to me is when I go backstage and tell everybody we're ready to go, there are always like 4 people around Marshall, and he's sitting there like this, and they're all Velcroing him up and down the shoulder, everything.
It was an experiment. Gabe actually wore every prototype for it. Because Gabe would come over and help me sew, and so I was like, all right, Gabe, you need to try it on again. Can you tear it this way? Can you do it? I actually need to take it home with me, I think, and fix some pieces on it. So that's the giant tearaway for little Marshall.
So talk about the nurses, because I think that's really interesting. When we're in purgatory, the script says there are nurses in purgatory. And so we kind of could do anything we wanted, I guess.
Well, and we had to make sure that everybody was going to be, whatever you were wearing in the second act is what you're going to be wearing the rest of the show. So it was kind of like, well, how do I do this? What do I do? Okay, we need nurse costumes. I had a couple patterns for some nurse costumes, and there was one pattern that you really get to look out if you're the costumer in the show, because you're like, that looks really cute on me. So I think it'll look cute on the other 3 that have to wear it. We're all similar. For the most part, aside from Anne being pregnant, but she's not actually pregnant, we all have a similar build to us, so it was kind of like, okay, we'll do that. I don't want to use white, because that's too much white on stage. When you get with the angels and the clan and all that, that's way too much white on stage.
Well,
so.
the rest of her is all black and gray.
Exactly, yep. So I went with the gray, and I actually found out we matched the floor the day that I brought the costumes. It's like, yay, we matched the floor, perfect. And then, yeah, with the hats and the crosses and everything, it just kind of evolved into being nurses, but a little more grotesque and weird, which I think worked. I know you like them, so little crinolines underneath, fluffing them up. Angel costumes are the same as the clan costumes. That's a fun fact. They both wear the same thing. Luke is a clan member and an angel, and it's the same exact costume. You just take the hood off and put the wings on. That's the difference. I've often wondered where clan members get their stuff after researching this. It turns out they can go to Joanne.
From church plays.
From church plays.
That's where they go.
They probably just double them up in the church plays.
And then talk about our Bible characters, because that was another one we could have done kind of anything.
I just kept picturing Bible characters like you're going to somebody's play at church, and this is the Passion Play, and these are the Bible characters. And so, for the most part, they're set up in a way, Adam and Eve are set up so that, they're covered, but they're naked, suggested naked. Everybody who is a Bible character in the second act is, they have some element of their original characters to them. So, like, Chucky has he's got his wife beater, and he's got his tube socks, and Chantel has all of her flowers and her jewelry and everything. Mary obviously has a wig and the glasses, the same as Irene, because you can't not do that. That was an accident, and it was a fabulous accident. Jesus is the only one that doesn't really have anything aside from we gave him a tiny shorty robe. He had a little shorty robe, and he had this little purple collar on it, and no matter what we were doing, he looked like he was wearing a dress. He looked like, I think Scott said he looked like Diana Ross at one point.
No,
Oh, Sister Act.
Sister
That's
Act
what you
is
said.
right.
I need him not to look like he's in Sister Act. That's what it was. So we cut off the lapels, and I was going to make him a skirt, and accidentally he put it on like this instead of wearing it as a skirt the one day, and it looked really great, so we kept it. But it's to give everybody that, even if you're not a church person or went to church, you have the, like, over the course of time, this is what the Bible characters look like. So that's what I try to do with a lot of
And
everybody.
one of my favorite things of the costumes was Anne,
Mhm.
actor Anne, is pregnant in
Mhm.
Act 1. She's
Her
a
request, it's her
pregnant
request.
lesbian, right?
She's my pregnant lesbian
Oh,
girlfriend.
right, because you're the other lesbian.
Mhm.
And what I love is that any character she plays through the entire show is also pregnant. So her angel is pregnant, her nurse is pregnant, and I just think that's really funny and so exactly this show.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm. Well, when Ray is an angel, I think what we've decided is I guess they get pulled out of hell or something and get taken to the angels. Because Ray did something that, God love him, all the guys were supposed to come up with creative ways that they died and why they're in hell in the chorus. And Ray came up to me with, he has a tie and he has a doorknob attached to the tie. And he was like, can I do this? Is this how I died? I died like this. I was like, you are so gross, Ray. Yes, you can. I'll even unbutton my pants and everything. It'll be totally worth it. So if you pay attention, Ray has strangled himself.
Well,
on
we
the
had
doorknob.
to pull Ray back a little. He
We
was
did.
going for Insane Clown
He was.
Posse, which I thought was an
good.
interesting idea, but
Didn't
it
fit.
was too
It was
much.
too much. It didn't fit. I wanted him to be a juggalo, and it just was too much of what was going on. But I think he found a good medium of looks like an actual person in the audience. So everybody in the show has done a very good job of going, okay, this is what I need to do. I shouldn't be wearing tights. I shouldn't be wearing all of these things that make myself look finished on stage. And I think the original production, the DVD, there's a lot of, because they're is in like double layer Spanx and whatnot, because I've worked with opera singers. The actors want to look nice on stage. Opera singers even more are, oh my God.
Well, one of the things that you were just talking about, the reality of Act 1 particularly, the original production, I loved the original production, but it was really about making fun of grand opera. It was really about what's ridiculous about opera. And to me, what's cool about the show is, of course these characters need to be in an opera. Their emotions are just that giant, and the stakes are just that giant. And it has to be an opera. Of course it's an opera. And so we really, the original production had, massive flames, and they had video screens, and, all these special effects, and this giant hanging cage that Jerry was in. And not only couldn't we do a lot of that, but it just didn't seem to make sense to me. I think what's funny about it is it's an opera because it has to be an opera. That's funny to me. I don't think it's funny to make fun of opera. Like, anybody can do that, But so, with her costumes, with his set, with the acting, everything, we tried so hard to be as real as we could possibly be inside this crazy world. And I think everybody really got on board with that. And I think we really got that, which is really cool. And there are these moments in Act 1 that are kind of poignant and kind of a little bit hard to take because they are doing some real acting, and you really do feel something for these people. I think that's very cool. Any questions from everybody?
I just kind of wonder what the real Jerry Springer thought of his show being turned into an opera.
We know he's seen it, and apparently thinks it's terrific.
I can't believe he never did it.
Oh, like play the host?
Yeah, I really have a hard time wondering
been-
why he never
He'd
has done
be
that.
playing his own
So I have a
death.
question on the set. You said the original pillars were 3 foot by 2 foot. How do you know that?
Oh, actually, when
No,
you're,
I'm so serious. If it's all at scale, what scale did you go on?
when you're working with brick, as soon as you know the dimensions for brick, all you have to do is count courses. Every 3 courses of brick is 8 inches.
How do you know what size brick is on this show?
Well, that's standard brick.
And I could kind of tell, because when you see someone walk by them, you can tell that those bases come up to like here per person,
That makes sense. Okay.
So you get a sense of it.
So it's not like there's some place to find that information.
I don't
On the
think
show.
so.
It doesn't come with the rights to the show.
No, but as an architect, I've drawn elevations of existing buildings enough to be able to count bricks and figure out the proportions of things, and then I can see
what that is.
Any other questions?
Do people do their own makeup and hair? I was just thinking,
For the most part.
Ryan last night was combed hair, well, I think it was the first time I've ever seen that. And very, very uncombed on the show, that probably took somebody.
Yeah, for the most part, that's up to them. I think sometimes if we have something really special or really difficult, you know, but a lot of our actors have been trained in doing special makeup. And, you know, like Chris Strahan has this horrible wound with a pencil sticking out of it, and, you know, he totally built it himself and everything, so.
Tyler does all of his demon makeup. All the guys that in the second act that have their scary makeup on, they all did their stuff. And Luke, that is all Luke. I've given him the wig and I've given him the dress, but that is all Luke. Every last bit of it. The underpants I did not provide him. He brought his own underpants.
Really?
And I think one of the things with the makeup is, during the last week of rehearsals, pretty much every night we would say to them afterwards, y'all don't look dead enough in acts 2 and 3. You know, we need more dark circles, we need more, you know. So we were kind of pointing them to some extent, but that's them doing it. Any other questions?
One of the effects, I guess this is lighting, some things, but in Hell or Purgatory or both, the flame behind the fan, how'd you get that? Man, it looks so flame-like. I was.
Does it look real?
I was sitting over there, it's looking straight in.
Well, come down, I'll show you. It's a pre-bought, they're manufactured stage effect. It's a silk, 3-foot silk flame cut out in the shape of a flame. It's got a half a dozen halogen lights in orange, white, and blue underneath, and 3 large fans that blow that silk up into the air.
And my favorite thing is right in the middle it's painted blue, so it looks like a real flame, you know?
Yeah, it's got a blue light, a little blue halogen light in the middle.
It looks really real up close. Like you can stand 3 feet away and it still looks pretty real. Yeah, I think it's really neat. Yeah, Rob said to me about Hell, he's like, all right, I'm bringing out every trick I know. I'm like, go for it, anything, whatever.
And I pretty much did.
Yeah.
With Melanie.
Our favorite note from Rob was, don't look into the green light, the one that makes the stars, it originates from the booth, and the stars just, freaks me out how the stars go everywhere, the ceiling, the walls, they're everywhere, but they're just up in the booth. And as soon as he said, don't look at the green light, we naturally all went right to the green light. And what I discovered is, when I'm laying like right there with my elbow in the exact right taped spot there,
It's right on your
and I look up, it's there. So thanks for the note, because it's always there now.
No, all it does is you make you see spots for a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, that's why I tripped up the stairs that night.
I wasn't gonna bring that up, you brought it up.
Yeah.
It's a green.
Go
green
into the
laser.
light.
It's a device that's made with a green laser, and it's got a multifaceted prism, not unlike a diamond type of a cut, except that there are probably 200 facets on it or so. And every facet sends a laser beam out.
So cool, it looks like fireflies all over the place.
What's really cool is from the booth, it's all over the backs of the heads of the audience, which they can't see. Well, I guess some of them probably can't see that.
And and they move. That prism in there sits there and rotates ever so slightly.
Oh,
So
I didn't
they
know that.
and there are a couple mirrors in there also, and then it all focuses through a lens, a fisheye lens, so that it goes 180 degrees from the face of the box, 180 degrees all directions. So that prism sits there and rotates, and since it rotates and it's bouncing off of mirrors, the stars ever so slowly float through the sky. So if you watch it, they'll move, and you know, like an audience member, you'll sit there and you'll see it on your shirt as it's coming down, and then it'll run across your knee, and then it's on someone else's head, and off it goes. Over the course of that, 3 minutes or whatever that the effect is up. And then it doesn't dim. So when I say I pulled out all of my tricks, I built a dowser. They use them in theater for projectors, and it's nothing other than an arm or like a fan, and it's on a servo, an RC servo, like a radio controlled plane uses for its ailerons. And when you slide the slider up, it lifts that thing up, and when you slide the slider down, it lifts that down, or drops it down. So the stars, Gabe turns them on about 2 or 3 minutes before we get to that point in the show, and then written into the queue, the light board automatically raises that thing, and it can do it at a slow pace. So it slowly raises that up, and as it does, the stars sort of appear in this.
Cool.
So, yeah, all of those tricks. There are actually 4 fog machines on stage. There's dry ice fog for Purgatory, there's the 2 geysers, and then a hazer that's right up behind the back wall in the center there, that continually, all through Act 3, through Hell, puts a haze across the ceiling.
Which is partly cool just for atmosphere, but it's also cool because then you can see the light beams and then it looks like rock concert.
Well, and you can
I love
see,
that.
if you catch a glimpse of it, the 2 lights that have the go-go rotators with the flames that are on the brick wall, you'll actually see the haze dancing like fire, which is kind of fun. So it's those little things that you catch. Again, the idea is it's all of those things combined are what are trying to convince you that this is, it's Jerry Springer's set, but it's not right. Something's different.
Strangely familiar.
Strangely familiar.
Any other
That's what I
questions?
do whenever you say that.
Any other? Well, thanks for coming out, y'all.
Thank you.